Hey everyone, good morning and good afternoon to all of you. Welcome to the Revenue Renaissance, the art of modern sales. So today's session is going to be about evolving brushstrokes, adapting sales for a changing buyer's journey. I think we all know that in today's fast-moving business environment, sales teams are continuously and must always adapt. Looking forward to welcoming our speakers. My name is Elizabeth. I'm the sales director here at AirCall. We are a communications and intelligence platform for sales and CS teams. I've been in the sales startup space and private equity space for the last 10 years. And with that, I would love to welcome Manisha, if you could say a few words.
Hey, great to be here. Thanks for having me. I'm Manisha, founder and CEO of SwiftHub. We are changing the way technical sales is done today with launch of our AI sales engineer. Basically, we all know that there are so many tools used in any company. It becomes very difficult for sales and solutions team to actually dig for information and have the right answer at the right time. We are changing that, and we'll discuss more on our experience in working with CROs and other buyers. Yeah, great to be here.
Thanks. Brian, I know that you are the CRO at SciSense, so would love to hear more about your journey.
Absolutely. Glad to be here. So CRO at SciSense, been in the tech space for 30 years now, most of which I've been leading sales teams. SciSense, we're in the analytics space. So keeping it simple, we actually work with other software companies. We actually make their analytics better in their product. So it's the embedded analytics category. And so essentially, you would buy our platform, build better experiences for your customers, and we sort of OEM our product. You wouldn't even know it's SciSense. So we work with software companies and then basically companies where the website is their product and they want better analytics experiences for their users that hit their website, like USA Swimming is a good example. And yeah, I'm excited for the conversation.
Awesome. So I think our topic is a really timely one. I know that we all discussed it already with the evolution of sales and the buyer's journey. Going into 2025, I think a lot of us have been thinking about adjusting our strategies accordingly. So I'm really excited to dive in with the two of you. Brian, would you like to kind of dive into what your feel and take on buyers' journeys are right now as a collective?
Yeah, sure. So I've been at SciSense only 1 year, by the way. Just hit my 1 year. It was a thrilling first year. Thanks. Phew, I made it. So yeah, I joined SciSense as the global head of sales, and then about 5 months ago, took over the post-sales business, which is our renewal business, and became the CRO. I knew coming in, it was a refresh of a company, so we had to kind of rebuild a lot. So one of the first items I think about is the buyers, like who they are, right? The ideal customer profile. We all talk in acronyms with the ICP. I talk about it as the sweet spot, like where is, you want to make that sweet spot as big as you possibly can so that you can attract a lot of different types of buyers. But basically, then I think about, in sales, I've always thought about getting on the other side of the table with the buyer, right? Like you want to be in their shoes. So that means like, how do they want to buy? Who are they? What's their role? Like, for instance, we sell to a lot of engineers. And engineers are great. They're notorious for not wanting to really talk with people like me. So basically, we need to make it easier, right, for them to experience our product. So you think of things like trials, sandboxes, product-led growth. And I kind of simplified it. There's like 5 things a buyer wants to do. They want to see the product. They want to try the product. They want to know how much the product's going to cost. And then they either buy or don't buy, right? Like it's pretty basic. So then I think about how do we match our selling motion to that? So that's really how I spent my first year, was really figuring out how our buyers want to buy.
What's the biggest takeaway that you have gotten in the last year of really diving deep into that? Not not only starting in a global role, but now taking on an even bigger role?
I think simple is better, like going deep with less sort of steps, in my opinion, is much better. So I use analogies a lot, shock.
Great.
I've been in sales a long time, but like just picture a stream, a body of water, and then on one side is the buyer, and as the seller or company, right? You're trying to get the buyer from one side of the stream to the other. So to me, they're either big rocks that they need to hop from, or like a lily pad. I always think about a frog, but basically the takeaway is that those rocks need to be effective and make an impact so that the buyer actually can get to the other side. And it doesn't have to be a lot. Like I think sales went from simple to we overcomplicated it. I'm trying to bring back the simplicity to it and taking the buyer's, their mind frame on it. So that's the takeaway. It's like less steps with more substance, and that the buyer feels like they're not being sold to, and that they're actually like really controlling the entire cycle.
Yeah, I think that's a huge call out that a lot of companies are going back to fundamentals. Manisha, how do you feel at SIFT? Do you guys feel like you have the process of the fundamentals down, and do you feel like you guys are going back to simplicity? Or tell us a little bit about your buyer's journey.
Sure. So we have started with simplicity, but of course, as you would see with the advent of all the new AI tools, like because we are talking, let's say the first stage, which is prospecting, there are so many AI SDR tools, right? Like not just Apollo and Outreach, which were already there, but also new companies like 11x, Nooks. So I think the amount of emails buyers get today is unbelievable, right? Earlier, people used to do calling, and this is 10 years back, right? Cold calling used to work, and then all these tools like Outreach and SalesLoft came in, which automated the entire sequencing. So it was, I would say, not so expensive to send emails then once these tools were launched. So people started doing emailing, and then a lot of success rate was seen in email selling, right? Like selling via emails. And now we are at, again, I think we are going to go back to how we were doing things 10 years back. Because if I'm getting 100 emails every day from different sellers, how do I really stand out? And as a seller, what are we doing to really stand out? So looks like cold calling is going to come back, and in fact, all these there was a background noise. Sorry. So I think we have just scratched the surface of AI. It's just been 2 years, and it's literally unbelievable that ChatGPT was launched 2 years back, right? And the entire world changed. So we are going to see a lot more companies simplifying outreach, which is again going to become a problem for buyers and sellers both, because it's very difficult to differentiate amongst the good tools amongst all the noise which is there in the market. We are testing everything, we are trying out everything, and I believe that B2B selling is going to change to P2P kind of a selling, which is basically person to person selling. Ultimately, see, there are humans at both the sides of journey, right? Like there's a buyer, there's a seller, both are humans. I mean, ultimately you're selling to a human being. So you have to really personalize selling, be it outreach, be it negotiation calls, be it your discovery calls. You really need to bring in a lot of personalization to actually get that first discovery meeting to closing the deal.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of nuggets that we, as the three of us, can align on. Is you're selling person to person and you want to get into their shoes, and the selling process has changed a lot, where you want to start relationship building and you want to make sure that like you're building the relationship as well as selling the tool, right? You also mentioned that calling is going to come back. I'm going to do a little fun exercise really fast. I'd love to know how many sales emails you guys get in a day, whether it be on LinkedIn or in your inbox. And everyone in the audience, you guys can throw it in the comments just for some giggles. But how many emails do you guys get a day right now?
Does that include like employees of mine that I get their emails because they're not with the company anymore?
Oh gosh, that's so. I guess you could explain.
I never counted. I mean, it's a lot. It's got to be double digit for sure, 10 to 15, and then voicemails, and then LinkedIn. Yeah,
like hundreds, right?
I would say like 80%. It's so funny. Like 80% of them feel like they're recruiting firms, like agencies, to give me. They have the best seller in the world that I need, or like the best SDR.
I think we'd all like them if that's the case.
Right, exactly.
So for me, it's still single digit because I'm assuming ShiftUp doesn't fit into ICP of still a lot of companies, right? Because we started last year, though we are growing pretty fast, and we do get a lot of emails, especially around LLMs, AI, how we can help you expedite your development, again, agencies. But yeah, I'm sure, companies like Sisense doing hundreds of millions of revenue fits into a lot of companies' ICPs.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Elizabeth.
No, please go for it.
Oh, it is interesting. Yeah, the Sisense name, since it's been around since 2010, and the funding rounds, and clearly our revenue does attract a lot. But like, we are actually operating. This is kind of a public service announcement. We are more of a startup, which I actually love too. And a lot of software companies of our size and software companies around the world are getting back to that startup mentality. And that's a topic, maybe not for here, but startup mentality is like everything you do every day makes a difference.
I'm actually gonna I'm going to disagree that it might not be a topic for today because it's all about adapting sales motions, right? And so I'm in a company at Aircall. We are a Series D company, and we have a Series A kind of build mentality of rolling up your sleeves and making sure that everyone is going out after it and getting to it. So I love that. And I think you're absolutely right that all of us need to have that mentality more so. And I feel, even from a talent perspective, those individuals are going to go much faster and much further than the ones that are just kind of waiting to see what happens. There's something that we talked about that I wanted to bring back up is like the art and the science around sales. And it's definitely the headspace that I think can correlate to kind of that startup mentality. The hard part is to scale a machine, and then there's the art piece. So Brian, I know you had something that you wanted to talk about here. I'd love to get your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean, the art and the science is something I think about a lot. I think, the first thing that happens for me is I have a Rolodex of like the greatest sellers going through my head. And like, they all had their own science. They had their own process. Mostly it would be the company's process, hopefully. But also their art was unmatched. They just either learned how to do it really well or were born that way. And I never want to change a seller's art. I can give them techniques and different ways to do it, but I want them to have their own style and personality. I think that whole science piece, we could probably talk for a long time. A lot of it's data driven. And then it's like, if you're like me, I turn a sales team into a factory, and like, the way a factory operates is like everybody's on the line and like has a certain job on the line to make a finished product. Sometimes I wish sales was like that. It's just like finished product, but it's really hard to get a group of sellers, whether it's 5, 10, 50, 100, 500, to sort of be factory-like. And that's where I do think I am encouraged by AI to take that off my hands. So like, for instance, I don't know why we called it, I have to ask a former sales coach. We called it a deal email, DEAL, capital DEAL, email. And people that worked for me and I worked with throughout my entire career, like, loved this email. It was like a fire email. Basically, what it did was it captured what the person said during the call. So if in-person meeting or on video, right? Here's what I heard you say. Here's your responsibility, buyer. Here's my responsibility. And then basically the fourth section was, here's the next steps, like action items. And we called it a deal email. And again, like, reps would be like, Brian, that's fire. That's the fire email. And it was a template in your CRM system, and it would, we would take the contact, merge it in. But I feel like that's old school now. Like, AI can do all of that, right? Zoom has AI on their video calls, and Google Meets has Gemini, and so basically you don't really have to take the copious notes you used to. And there's other tools out there, right, that'll put it in an email and do that for you. So to me, that's actually really a green check. It's great. I don't have to coach reps on how to do that. Then we probably do more skills on either product or the art side of it. So that's a good thing for the science.
Okay, that's great. Manisha, do you have anything that you guys are doing from either the art or the science, or any kind of like takeaways that you can give to all of these beautiful people that are on the screen?
Yeah, I think not just selling or writing deal emails is science, but also learning products is a mix of art and science, right? For sellers. So today, what has happened is we are doing a lot in marketing, right? So if you see, website has a lot of information in terms of what every company does, because people spend a lot of time in positioning. Okay, if I'm going on a website, in the first scroll, am I able to understand what the company does or what pain point is it solving? If I scroll next, I will get an option to download a case study. If I scroll next, I will get an option to subscribe for a blog, right? So and then of course, if the companies get my email, I keep on getting bombarded with different case studies, what pain points they are solving. So I think marketing is actually doing a lot of awareness and education for buyers today. So the level 1 and level 2 education, which actually sales teams used to do before on first 2-3 calls, it's already done before you actually get on a discovery call. Now, if you're getting on a discovery call or you're getting on an introduction call, sales teams need to be really need to know the product in depth, technical details of the product, to be able to get the next meeting. Otherwise, if you're still talking the same stuff as a seller, if you're still talking the same stuff which is written on your website, which you have sent in prospecting emails, buyer is like, hey, why am I here on the call? Because I'm getting the same information. So what pain point are you really solving for me? Like, okay, your platform is solving 100 pain points, but what have you understood? What are the 3 pain points which I have? Right? So if sellers are able to actually respond to buyers on the call itself. So let's say if you're talking to a bank, and for bank, compliance and everything is really very important, or certifications like SOC 2 and all is very very important. So as a bank, if I'm asking, hey, do you have data centers in Europe? As a seller, I would not have that information handy on my fingertips, because this is a low level question. But these are the questions that buyers are asking today in the first call, because they already know what the company does. I don't want to know what your company does, because I'm talking to you because of all the emails you have sending to me, or voicemails which Brian has been getting, right? So getting this information on fingertips has become really, really important for sellers. First, they need to really understand the product in depth. The product is changing fast, right? I mean, like there are new features, new releases happening every week or every 2 weeks, thanks to agile methodology. It's become very difficult for sellers and also solutions teams to actually be up to date with what is happening in the product. So it's, gone are the days where in the first call you're going through the intro deck with the customers. Once you share the deck, customers like, hey, no, 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 please stop sharing the deck. I have very pinpointed questions. Let me ask you those.
Okay, there's so many things I want to talk about here. Because there's so many things that we shouldn't be doing already because of the AI tools that we've gotten, and all the education that's already happening to the buyers. I think the biggest thing that, in the ever evolving sales day to day that we see is like the AI functionality. Take it or leave it, it's going to change the game. And so how do you guys feel, and how do you shift through the noise of what AI is really great for maybe your sales teams or your companies right now versus, let me ask it a different way. How are you guys as buyers of AI tools evaluating tools to make your guys' sales structure and process easier for your reps? Brian, I'm going to throw it to you.
Okay, sure. I've a lot going through my head on this. I mean, on one hand, like I'm like, Sisense, we help software companies accelerate their go-to-market, by leveraging AI features that we provide. So we don't have to do that. So for like, I get asked a lot like about, hey, what's sales technology? What's the stack you all use? And it's quite embarrassing.
The stack.
The
We
stack.
always get that question.
I know. It's quite embarrassing, right? Like how much we have to use. It's like the other passion of mine, which is golf. Like how many different devices can I buy to help me swing a golf club, right? It's like similar. So there's like your email tools, which, according to Manisha, which I agree, like maybe that we're probably turning the corner where email is not going to even be effective. I do think you need CRM in terms of like a database to capture, to be able to look at your pipeline, et cetera, your deals. There's the whole, like, if you're going fishing, the LinkedIn sort of navigator stuff. There is, another information site. We use Zoom Info. This is a plugin for all these brands, but basically bringing in, the right data. What else is out there? So the question is AI. I still think it's going to be around like taking sort of monotonous tasks and then like how do we accelerate or eliminate those, like from people doing them, note taking, follow-ups, capturing. I mean, diagnosing pain is a people thing, and it's it would be like replacing a doctor with AI. You're not going to do that. But diagnosing the pain, now the question is the solutioning, right? Or follow up from that. To me, that's where AI can play a huge role. I think that sales hunting is a problem everywhere. So, that's potentially AI maybe can do it better. We'll see. I actually, a couple months back, I was telling a friend like, oh, you should create like a chat bot, a bot that's your SDR, and give it a name that's clever that your prospects and clients would like, that fits with your brand, and like maybe that'll be like your automated, clever, funny way of going outbound. And of course, this product out there, I won't name it, that we use, just came out with their
chatbot.
They just came out with their SDR. I'll give it a plug. It's Piper SDR.
Yeah.
It's part of another company, Qualified, and they came out with the AI SDR. So it's going to be interesting to see if the AI SDR actually does do better than my people at SDRs. So I don't know if I answered the question,
that is a hot take. We are going to get some questions around that. That's for sure. You might get some more sales emails because of that.
Sounds like it.
Manisha, how are you going through the noise? How do you feel about AI? And like, actually, I would love to ask you maybe what's the best tool that you're using right now at Sift Hub that has AI, and how long did it take you to get it?
Sure. I would say the best tool we are using today is Sift Hub, honestly, because in the beginning, the way even the process of selling has or buying has changed, right? Today, whoever you are selling to, and we sell to mid-market companies and enterprises. Now whenever you're selling to them, even if you're before you're starting a free trial, they will send you a security questionnaire to make sure you're not wasting their time, and you have all the certifications in place, you have good privacy and data security policies and so on, right? And usually these questionnaires are like 200 to 500 kind of questions in every questionnaire. So it was just two of us doing the selling in the beginning last year.
Yeah.
And well, we laid down all the policies. We are already SOC 2 Type 2 certified, ISO certified, so we have everything in place. Now it's about responding to these questionnaires. Now the answers are usually the same, but the questions are always asked in a different way, right? Like some clients would say, do you have a VAPT report? Some clients would say, did you pass the penetration testing in your for your product? So we were like, and this is what we are building, right? So we started dog fooding our product. I mean, the aim was always to sell to mid market and enterprises, but it's the best case when you can actually dog food your product. We started dog fooding our product. First time we actually manually wrote all the answers and responded to the prospect. From second time onwards, when we started getting these questionnaires, we started filling these questionnaires using our own platform. And for the second one, we saw almost 40-50% automation, because there were questions, 60% questions were new once we filled that manually. And then the third one, we saw 70% automation. So I would say today, because the platform that we are building is growing super fast. I mean, we have like literally weekly releases. We have amazing set of engineers, and they are making sure that whatever customers ask this week, they're almost getting it the next week.
Yeah.
It's become very difficult for account executives, which we have now, to keep up to the platform. So when they are on the yeah, so for them to actually know the answers to the features, they quickly ask SwiftHub bot on Slack. So we have a Slack bot for SwiftHub. They just go on Slack, ask SwiftHub, and they get the answers right in front of them. And how we do this is basically we collate data from multiple sources in the company, right from your Google Drive to Salesforce notes to Gong recordings, then your Confluence, Notion. You might be having, these submitted responses from the past. So all the knowledge comes together, and we help A's and SE's respond to customers for any questions which they are getting. And as Brand mentioned, right, there are so many tools, point solutions which are available today. I'm sure every leader today wants consolidation to happen in sales tech space, right? Because there are so many, like if you pick a category, even the least popular category, you will at least find 20 good SaaS products in that. I feel it's very difficult for these categories to get consolidated as such, but there will be consolidation of UX. The entire user experience is getting consolidated. And by this, what I mean is, let's say a brand, you're using Salesforce, right? So how do you actually get all the answers or all the functionalities within Salesforce? So the knowledge might actually reside in some other platform, but consolidation of user experience is actually happening now.
So can I jump in here, Elizabeth?
Absolutely.
So I actually find it quite interesting, Manisha, the way you describe, like it's actually the way you described how you're selling today is almost opposite from where I think the world is. Like the world, like buying everything, whether it's like a new car, a new home, these are big things, or even small things like a piece of clothing. Everything's easier. And so like the way you just described your selling motion, that felt really hard for me personally. Like, putting a 200 to 500 questionnaire in front of your buying, in front of your selling, like feels the opposite of what I'm actually trying to do. I actually like really believe so back in 2011 through 2019 or so, pre-pandemic, the idea was like more sellers, the more revenue you would have. It was like that simple. And actually now over the last 7 years in, firsthand failure experience, it's actually not that. So then I'm like, it's bigger than just a person. So making that buying experience so easy and light to me is not easy to do, but that's where I think the world is going to. And
Right.
I guess AI will be a big part of that, right?
Yeah. So, Brian, that's not our buying process, but that's basically the companies we sell to, that's their buying process. Because if you have 100K kind of deals, nobody is going to swipe their credit cards, right? They want to talk to your security team. They want you to, fill those questionnaires. They want you to be SOC 2 Type 2 certified. So that is the buying process of our buyers, the companies we are selling to. We have a very simple buying process. We just go sign up for a tool, see the free trial, or we get a referral, and then we start using it.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I still think it's just an interesting, we can probably talk for a long time about it, like $100,000, like again, you go buy $100,000 car tomorrow and it'll be really easy to do that. I'll spend 6 months, I could figure out all the features I want in the car. I don't even need to talk to anybody. And then I'm probably talking to a bank on how to finance it. Like I'm doing all of that. And our buyers are doing that with us too.
Right.
Yeah.
So I actually have I'm very curious about this. Let's use the car analogy really fast. Usually people go in and they're like, this is the one I want. I want it in black with like camel leather, and they know exactly what they need to do. They've gotten approved. I feel like now more than ever, every single buyer that's coming to any company, mine, probably yours, is already coming in with that mentality of knowing exactly what they want, exactly what they don't want. There's a little bit of the checkbox theory of like, well, if you can't do this, we're not going to talk to you. We're just going to talk to a competitor, right? Yeah. So with that mentality in hand, and both Manisha and Brian, you guys have mentioned trials. How effective do you think trials are in the buying process now? I know that at AirCall, we do them all of the time, and they're really effective. We go through all of these Q&As and technical scoping through the buyer's journey so everyone can understand not only how we sell, but how we're going to support and how we're going to interact and use our integrations with them. So for us, it's been really powerful, but I would love to understand how you guys are using trials, knowing that the mentality is I know what I want and I know what color I want. Now deliver it to me.
I think if you can show the ROI of your product literally in first 1 hour or 1 day of using it, this is an amazing way to go about it, right? Because there's less patience that buyers are today. They are not, no one is patient, right? Like everyone wants to get things done quickly. So the way it works for us is we do give free trials, and like onboarding literally takes 15 minutes if they are signing up on their own, and they can see the value of the product in just 1 hour of first 1 hour of using it. So that's a very good way for buyers to actually understand, oh, is this solving my pain point or no? It saves us time, it saves them time. So I think that has been working really, really well for us. And the conversions which we have from free trial to closing the contract are really amazing. I mean, though it's very early, so they are actually getting a VIP treatment. I would say, every free trial account, because we sell to mid market and enterprises, they are getting a VIP treatment. But that's how, we plan to do, at least for the foreseeable future.
Okay, that's great.
So,
Brian, what about you guys?
okay, so I'm going to answer it from two different lenses. First, let's think about the buyer. So to me, like when you work at a tech company, hopefully most of the people there, like it takes certain people longer than others, but you kind of you like bleed for that company. Something happens where you're just like, I love this tech. So now picture the buyer. They don't work at your company. They don't really know what you know. So the question is, like, how do you get them to this like aha moment? Like, oh my God, like this solves my problems.
Yeah.
So I think thinking about that, then like what is that aha moment? And a lot of times what I've seen, it's like getting your hands on that beautiful black. I have like a Mercedes in my head.
Camel leather, yeah.
Yeah, camel leather, right? Like you put them in the car, they test drive it, and they're like, "Oh, I could definitely see myself in this." It's like, so if your product is that amazing, then why wouldn't you want people to have their hands on the product? So that's buyer. On the seller side, so buyers, if you're listening, I'm gonna give you some of our magic here, but right, it's the win rate. It's all about win rate.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure, and we have tons of data now at every step of the process. The question is like, how do we increase our chances of winning? And what are those winning moves? And one of which could be, hopefully, when the buyer gets their hands on the product, we win X% of the time. So you can't cut corners and just get them into that. It's like, if you think of the story arc, so it's like setting, then it's the challenge, so diagnosing their pain, then it's that aha moment, which could be the trial that connects them to solving their pain, right? So that's how I think of the trial from two lenses. One, does it help you win more effectively? And then the buyer, does it give them the aha moment? I will date myself here.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. There's a company, so for 12 years, I implemented CRM, the company I worked at. We were an SI. It wasn't called that back then. We were a VAR, a value-added reseller. It's pretty old school, but there was a platform that we resold that had they called it a SIB. Their trial process, they called it a SIB. Seeing is believing. I've been trying to replicate this pretty much everywhere I've gone. But they're seeing is believing. In fact, the prospect signed a contract. They gave them a one-pager, like, we're going to do a SIB. We're going to take some of your data, put it in the product. You're going to use it. And they signed a contract. I loved it. And the SIB was, I think it felt like it was 99% of the time they won, but it was a high percentage. So I've been trying to replicate that. And, the company I came from, we actually did something similar. We had like a hands-on experience. Here at Sisense, I want to do the same thing, because I think buyers, you can't avoid, you go up to the Mercedes dealership, you want to drive that car or truck, whatever, right? You can't avoid that. So just don't interfere with it. Just make it really good.
Yeah. Well, listen, I'm going to be calling you to figure out how you're going to get a 99% conversion rate, and then I'm going to bring some new ideas to our team.
Perfect. Deal.
Yeah. Perfect. We only have a few minutes left. How do you guys feel about a little bit of a spicy hot takes round? 1 to 2 sentences, answers to some punchy questions.
Let's go.
Okay, Manisha, let's start. What's one tool or tech platform that you think is going to make the biggest difference in the buying process in 2025?
Wow.
I really started with questions.
There's so many. Like, yeah, I have like so many names coming in my mind. SwiftHub?
SwiftHub, got it.
That's
I don't mean
which
to continue to, yeah, I don't mean to continue to plug SwiftHub, but it's working out really well. Okay, Brian, the next one is for you. What is the one piece of data that every sales team needs to look at and focus on to continue to win in 2025?
Well, I kind of just said it before. I mean, it's can I talk? There isn't one, but the most important lever to attaining quota is win rate.
Yep.
And that's the end metric. And the win rate is super complex. Like, I wish you could just hit a button, better win rate, right? Like, but there's so many things that lead up to that. I won't expand any further, but it's win rate.
Okay, it's win rate. And the 99% win rate, if I can quote you correctly.
So I was literally this morning looking at a model. So if you look at, like, most companies have a pipeline plan, right? That gets you to whatever your sales plan is.
Yep.
And then you want to know, like, sort of the length of time that pipeline goes through your company. So let's just say it's 5 months, right? Month 1, you have it, and then it takes 4 months to kind of fizzle out. And then basically you have a win rate. It's interesting. You can basically take your pipeline plan, you can drop, let's just say you hit 60% of your pipeline plan. Now, marketers out there and sellers will be like, oh my God, like, no, that's horrible. It actually isn't. What's horrible is if your win rate, like, I have this model. So if your win rate goes to, like, down 1%, it's like $100,000 of sales that you lose. If it goes up 1%, it's 100,000 you would win. If it goes up 5%, now you're at $500,000. I mean, so win rate really is that lever that will actually move the needle, or down, up or down.
Yeah, I agree. I think we could all agree is that we always want a more efficient and effective win rate across the board. Okay, so this is going to be for all of us. Manisha, I'll start with you. What is the most common mistake that you'll see or you expect to see in 2025 that might lose deals?
Underestimating competition. There are a lot of great tools, and I think over indexing on competing with incumbents. I mean, of course, we know Salesforce. Brian and I were discussing. He wishes that Salesforce can actually do everything. All the sales tech tools can be combined in Salesforce. We know that's not going to happen, because if an incumbent is building a feature, an AI feature in their platform, it might be 20-30% efficient, but if you buy a point solution, it will be 60-70% efficient, right? So it is, and that is something we have been seeing in the world of SaaS from last 2 decades, I would say. So don't be afraid of incumbents. Go out there, sell, and just put your best foot forward. Give that aha moment. We have our aha moments with our prospects in demo calls itself. They don't even have to wait till free trial. So go ahead and don't be scared of incumbents.
Yeah.
Okay.
By the way, I bleed blue still. Not gonna lie. It's that Salesforce. An amazing time in my career. So I cannot believe I'm going to use this. This is something I literally
Can't wait.
said on my forecast call today. So can you say the question again? Like what's the most important something about losing in 2025?
Yeah, what's the most common mistake you think will
Common
happen
mistake. Yeah.
that will ultimately make people lose in 2025?
Okay. It's this, not knowing who Dr. White is. Okay. We have a customer. I just actually flew to Seattle to meet with the customer, and it's a perfect example. Most of us sell, it's never one person on the other side. It's usually multiple constituents. You have some champions. People may like your product, and then there's always this one key person that can kind of squash your deal.
Yeah.
And who is that person? Like, that's your responsibility as a sales team to be the detective to figure out who that person is. And like, I think about my company when Manisha's trying to sell to my company, she's trying to sell her product to SciSense. There's going to be someone here who is that one Dr. White who
Yeah.
you need to figure out what they care about, what their use cases are, what essentially, how do you get the deal done or not? So to me, that is something, if we don't do a good job of finding that person, we will not be successful in 2025.
I agree. I think that's awesome. I'm going to answer the question really quickly because
Elizabeth, I want to
because I
add
asked.
one. I want to add
Oh,
one
please.
more here, if you don't mind. I think
Yes, please.
not getting on a plane enough to go and meet your customers is another big mistake.
That I think that's ultimately you nailed it with that one. I feel like now my answer is going to be lackluster compared to you guys, but I think I think if people lack curiosity, and I know it's a very just like fundamental one, but I think if sellers are lacking curiosity, not understanding the buyers, candidly, not getting on planes to go see everyone, I think community and the network around us and going back to our initial conversation of the buyers and understanding the buyers, you can't understand a buyer over Zoom, even if you do it for about 4 to 6 hours during the deal cycle. There's always a different conversation. There's always a different tone. There's always a different feel when you actually go see them in person. But for me, and something that I talk to my team about is curiosity or lack of kills all deals. And so if we're not asking questions just because we're not in the right headspace, then, well, there's a high likelihood that we're going to lose.
How do you feel about like the phrase, I don't know if it's what you're saying, Elizabeth, but like sell like you don't need the sale. Like it's really tough to do that.
Yeah.
But that allows you to be more authentic, grounded, and like really interested in what the buyer is thinking about and what they're trying to solve.
Yeah, and I think for me, when you do it that way, not to like kind of jump in here, but I think you're prolonging the relationship of that individual, right? So we're talking about the sales cycle and just the beginning and the buyer's journey, but there's so much afterwards. There's the NRR that you have to think about. There's like the success team. And I think more people have to take a look at what's best for the business and all parts of the business. And if you're, doing it the right way, and selling from a relationship, from a curious standpoint, you can always jump back in with the customer and get on a call and see how they're doing and make sure that you're supporting all pillars and all parts of the organization.
You're right. I mean, that like, look, as a sales leader, it's like you ask people to ask difficult questions throughout the cycle. And if they haven't connected or built this strong relationship around like genuine curiosity of the company and their problem, and you care about them, then it's hard to ask those difficult questions. And that is why deals, by the way, that's why people lose deals a lot.
I agree. And it hurts. Let me tell you, it hurts when they get lost like that. Okay, so we're wrapping up on time. Is there anything that you guys want to talk through or ask final round? No?
I think it was a great conversation since we spoke so much about AI to all the viewers there. Don't be insecure about AI. AI is not going to take away any jobs, but make sure you embrace AI. If you are a power user of AI, your value is just going to get increased and you get to do high value work. So embrace AI. Don't be insecure with AI.
Great. Brian, what are you going to leave the people with?
I mean, I think it's always great to be super clear on the one or two or three things that like are going to help you just be better and improve and sell. So I think like the three items I think that were brought up are amazing. I'm thinking about diagnosing problems is a huge thing in a curious way with the right person, that Dr. White. So like, if you do all these things, I think you'll have an effective 2025 focusing on winning.
Focusing on winning, I like that. I'm about to wish everyone like a happy New Year's right now. And I know 2025 planning is like well underway for all of us. Ultimately, I hope that these nuggets of information that we talked about were really relevant to you. And if you guys want to know more, you guys can reach out to any one of us. The buyer's journey is changing. Data is driving everything. AI is not going away. So make some smart, educated, and curious decisions for yourselves and your teams. Thanks all.
Thank you.
Thank you.